Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man wala. Yesterday we ended speaking about the different types of nouns which have a weak ending. We said that those nouns which have an alif at the end are called maqsoor, and those nouns which have a ya at the end are called manqus, right? And we said that the nouns which have an alif at the end, then their haraka is considered muqaddara. Their vowel is considered muqaddara in all three states because an alif itself does not hold a vowel. So it's going to be, right, marfu' bi damma muqaddara, mansub bi fatha muqaddara, and majroor bi kasra muqaddara. And we said that the manqus is going to be everything with a ya at the end of it, with a kasra before it. And that when it is in the state of being marfu' or majroor, then it's going to be with a damma muqaddara, marfu' with a damma muqaddara, and majroor bi kasra muqaddara. However, if it's mansub, then it is mansub with a fatha al-zahira, apparent fatha. We're going to be able to see the fatha because it's not difficult. We said it's difficult to say certain words, qadiyu, right? Janiyu, radiyu is difficult, but radiya, qadiya, janiya, that's much easier. It doesn't have that thickness to the tongue, so it's easy. Now today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to talk about a subject which is, we said, the hardest subject in the Arabic language. The most, not the hardest, but the most confusing to the Arabs. And inshallah ta'ala, maybe when we come back from Ramadan or the summer or whatever the case might be, then maybe we'll spend some time doing all of the exercises on this particular section so that we can try to master it versus just going over the rules. Maybe we'll spend some time going over it from this book and maybe another book until we get it where we say, man, that's the easiest part, right? How many types of words? A verb and a noun and a dharf. Oh yeah, that's kind of hard, but and mudmira, that's easy, right? Inshallah, that's the idea. One of the Salaf, he spent 80,000 dirhams to master a particular aspect of grammar, of Nahw. That's how much it important was to him. 80,000 dirhams, and dirham at that time was more than it is today. 80,000 dirhams today is probably $250,000 or $200,000, and he spent, which was more than that at that time, in order to master a particular aspect of grammar that was having a difficulty with them. So for us to spend, a week trying to master it, won't be hard, inshallah. Won't be too much. Okay, so now we know that a present tense verb, a fi'l mudari', becomes mansub with an, len, idhin, and k. And let me see. An, len, idhin, and k. Right? One of those four words appear in front of a present tense verb, fi'l mudari', it's going to become mansub. However, there are certain, and we got examples here, there are certain times when that an is going to be hidden. That an is going to be implied. Not necessarily hidden, but implied. And we'll go over the examples, inshallah ta'ala. Mudmira here means basically hidden or implied inside of the sentence. You don't get to see it. You won't know it's there. And just to give you a idea of what they're going to say, they're going to give you some examples here. So for instance, jalastu li astariha. Astariha, I sat in order to rest. Right? I sat in order that I rest. Now, li here, after it, the present tense verb, astarih, astarihu is the origin, is mansoob. Why? An is not in front of it. Len is not in front of it.
I can't see that. It looks like a fatta.
It's a fatta.
Okay. You said who?
No. Yeah, because astarihu is its origin.
Okay.
Right? But when in this sentence here, li astariha, I see the fi'l mudari astariha, actually the origin astarihu is mansoob with a fatha. Why? There is no n, there is no len, there is no idhin, and there is no k in front of it. So why is it mansoob? We said it has to be one of these four. If we were to look, and this is all written in this bath down here, if we were to look, the only thing that makes sense that could be hidden in here is n. Because li-k, li-k or li-idhin or li-len, none of that makes sense. The only one that makes sense is n. So we can see here is written out jalastu li-an astariha. So it's clear here, right? Jalastu li-an astariha. So this lam is called lam at-ta'lil, the lam for the reason of something. Jalastu, why did I sit? Jalastu li, in order to astariha. Now in English we say I sat in order to rest, but in Arabic we say I sat in order that I rest, in order to I rest. Right? We don't just have the word rest like we do in English. I sat in order to tie my shoe. No, I sat in order that I tie my shoe. Right? Or I sat in order that you tie your shoe. Right? There's going to be the one doing it involved in the Arabic language. It's going to be more clear versus in English we say I sat in order to rest, but I can sat in order that you rest. So even when I'm talking about myself in English, I say I sat in order to rest, it's implied me, but I can say I sat in order for you to rest. But in Arabic, we're going to be specific. Just like I was specific in order for you to rest, I sat in order for me to rest. Right? In English, we're not going to do that. We're going to say I sat in order to rest, not in order for me to rest. Even though you could say both, as this one is clearly spelled out here. Right?
Okay. Okay, question.
Mm-hmm.
It could be written or said either way.
Yes.
Or...
Yes, could be written or said either way.
If it just go jalastu li ashtari, of course it'll be high.
Right.
Then it's already implied, instead of saying jalastu li an ashtari.
Correct.
Right.
This one is going to be more not proper. Maybe the word proper fits here, but it's not like this one is improper, but this one is going to be more proper or more professional or considered more eloquent, because it is more eloquent if you're able to say
what you want to say, less words.
More things with less words, right? So anytime I can cut a word out, it's more eloquent, right? I've tried opening your mic a few times, Amir. I don't know what's going on. Okay, jalastu li astariha. The same thing, hadartu li a'ud al-marid. I visited in order to, or I attended in order to visit the sick. Hadartu li an a'uda. A'uda is mansoob here, and there is no an len isn't, okay? All that's because this an is hidden. It's hidden inside of it. And it's possible to be hidden here. With lam ta'lil, with the lam of ta'lil, it's possible to be hidden. Not that it has to be hidden. It cannot be hidden. As we said, jalastu li'an, hadartu li'an. يجتهد الطالب لينجح. يجتهد الطالب لأن ينجح. Right? بنيت بيتا لأسكن فيه. بنيت بيتا لأن أسكن فيه. So this one with lam ta'lil, it can be written out or it can be hidden. Right? It can be hidden inside of there. Right? Now the issue is, like I said, teaching Arabic grammar to people who do not understand Arabic in its origin or know the vocabulary words is difficult because an Arab would understand these sentences, but he just may not know that you can write it both ways. As for us, we got to learn what the word means. We got to remember this type of lam and all of that type of stuff. It becomes more difficult for us. Right? However, we just have to remember that this lam, li, lam ta'lil, it makes we could say for us, for ease purposes, we could say this li makes the present tense verb mansoob. However, it in itself, it doesn't really make it mansoob. Rather, something is hidden behind it. Right? Li'an. Right? Li'an is hidden behind it. So the rule here, making the fi'l mudari' mansoob after an, which is hidden, بعد اللام التعليل ينسب الفعل مضارع بأن مضمرة جوازا, meaning it's possible. It doesn't have to be, but it's possible. Like we said, it can be written both ways, right, Abdullah? بعد لام التعليل. After this lam التعليل, it can be hidden. It doesn't have to be. It can be written out as we see here, but it doesn't have to be written out. It can be mudmara after lam ta'lil. Right? The next rule, and a lot of this is going to take us practice. A lot of it's just going to take us practice. We just have to remember if we see li, because we know an, len, idhin, and k are the four things that happen that make it mansoob. The fi'l mudari become mansoob after an, len, idhin, and k. Now, if we see li astarih and we see a vowel on it, we say, why is that mansoob? Oh, because the an is mudmara. The an is hidden inside of there or implied in there, right? Because it can't be any of the other three, right? If there's no vowel on it, then we might say li astarihu, and we just made a mistake. We didn't end the world, but we made a mistake. With practice, inshallah, we'll get better. بعد اللام الجحود. لام الجحود. لام الجحود is also called lam al-nafi. And we're going to read some examples, but we'll read the rule because it's the same basic rule. ينسب الفعل المضارع بأن المضمرة وجوبا بعد اللام الجحود. Meaning it's obligatory that it be hidden. It's necessary. It's not an option. You cannot write this one out. You cannot write this one with n. Rather, it's automatically hidden. Now, what do we mean by lam al-juhud or lam al-nafi? The lam of negation. We're going to read some examples here in just a second as soon as I scroll down. Now, this one, it cannot be written out. It must be hidden. This one, it must be hidden. Okay. This one is also called lam and nafi. You guys see that ba'da lam al-juhud? You see it on your screen?
No, it hadn't came up yet. There you go. There you went.
I know. I'm gonna go back down. I'm trying to. You see it now?
No.
Play it. So we say examples. الأمثلة. ما كان الصديق ليخون صديقه. Right? ما كان الصديق ليخون صديقه. يخون was originally يخون, but this lam appeared. It looks like the lam ta'lil, but the meaning, and this is why I said it gets difficult, especially for us non-Arabs, right? Because we don't understand the sentence in the first place. So we don't understand the difference between this li and that li. Right? So now let's translate the sentence. Ma kana, it's a negation of the past, right? Or it could be the present as well. As-sadiq, right? As-sadiq is a friend. Ma kana sadiqu liyakhunu, from khana yakhunu, meaning to deceive. Sadiqahu, yakhunu sadiqahu, his friend. So it's not for a friend to deceive his friend. Is this called the lam of ta'lil? Is this the reason? Is this the reason? If we look above, let me go up above. Jalastu li astariha, I sat in order to rest. Hadartu li a'ud al marida, I attended in order to visit the sick. Yajtahidu at-talib li yanja, the student yajtahid, he puts in effort, he puts in a strong effort, he struggles, he strives in order to be successful. Banaytu baytan li askuna fihi, I built a house in order to live in it, in order that I live in it. Now all of this lam, this ta'lil, this is the reason. Why did I sit? In order to tie my shoe. Why did I go? Why did I attend? In order to visit the sick. Why is the student putting in hard work? Why is he working hard and struggling and striving? In order to succeed. Why did I build a house? In order that I live in it. Right? So this lam is the in order to do something. Now if we scroll down and we look at this lam, are we saying it's not for a friend in order to deceive his friend? Is that what the lam means? Does that make sense to you? It's not for a friend in order to deceive his friend? Doesn't make sense. Let's look at the second sentence. Ma kanat tuyur, the bird is not li tusjana fil aqfas, to in order to be imprisoned, tusjan from the word sijin for prison, tusjana fil aqfas, in a cage. It's not for a bird in order to be imprisoned in a cage. Does that make sense? Okay. Lam yakun ash-shurti liyasriq, is not for the police officer, the shurti, in order to steal. Does that make sense? No.
Say that sentence again.
It's not for.
I'm thinking about number 2.
Lem,
say it again too.
Lem yakuna, number 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Ma kanat at-tuyur, it's not for the bird li tusjana fil aqfas, in order to be. It's not for the bird in order to be imprisoned in a cage. Right? This first part of the sentence, does it have anything to do with the second part? Is it the reason for the second part? No. Lam yakun ash-shurti liyasriq. It's not for the police in order that he steals. Does that make sense? Does this to steal, does that have anything to do with him being a police officer? No. He became a police in order to steal? No. Lam akun li arafiq al-ashrar. It's not for me that in order for me to befriend the evil people. Does that make sense? No. So therefore, this lam is not the lam of ta'liyah. This lam is not telling us in order. Number one, Jalastu li astariha. I sat for a reason. The reason is the illah, the word illah. The reason, right? The reason is to rest. But this here has nothing to do with this as far as being a reason. So we know it's not the lam of ta'lil, even though it looks exactly the same. Right? It looks the same. It's got a kasr on it. Li. Right? And we see that the present tense verb, the fi'l mudari, is mansoob after it. Right? We see that the present tense verb is mansoob. So what is this lam? This lam is called lam al-jahud or lam al-nafi. Right? And it means it's for the negation. So ma kana sadiqu liyakhuna sadiqahu. It's not for a friend to deceive his friend. This basically, we're just going to translate this as two. But it's going with a negation. We can see in every one of these sentences that there's a negation. Ma kana, ma kanat, lam yakun, lam akun. All of these are negations with the word kana. Whether it's past tense or present tense, whether it's third person or first person or second person. It doesn't matter. If it's ma kana in all of its forms, present or present or past, or it could be first person, second person, third person, singular, dual, plural. If it's a negated kana in any of those states, then this lam is called lam al-jahud. It's not for a friend to deceive his friend. It is not for a bird, for birds, at-tuyur, to be imprisoned in cages. We're just going to translate it as two. It's not for birds to be imprisoned in cages. It's not for a policeman to steal. And it's not for me that I befriend evil people. Right? It's not for me to befriend evil people. How do we translate it? It might be a little different and someone might have a little bit different way. It's not for a friend that he deceives a friend. Someone might translate it as that. No problem. The meaning is the same. How do we know it's lam al-jahud? Number one, lam al-ta'lil doesn't make sense. In order to do something, this part of the sentence is not a result or a reason for this part. Because up above, jalastu li astariha. Hadartu li a'uda al-marid, and so on and so forth. It's a reason for this is the first part is a reason for the second part, or no, the second part is a reason for the first part. Here is not the case. This has not got to do with reason. That's number one. Lam ta'lil is not going to make sense. Number two, it's always going to come after ma kana, right? Or ma kanat, or lam akun, or lam yakun, or lam takun. It's going to come after a negation of kana, one of the forms of kana. When it does that, this lam is called the lam of jahud, and the n is hidden in there, wujuban, necessarily. You raise your hand, Abdullah?
No. The spelling is here, lamb. I guess for the alphabet lamb, that's that aleph there. That's for two A's, I guess, right? L-A-A-M.
Yeah, lamb.
Because this lamb, because it's not connected with the lamb over here. Negation is just lamb, with the sukoon.
You're talking about here? This is just the spelling of the letter, lamb.
Okay.
That's it. That's just the spelling of the letter. Like you would say,
so it's just
aleph.
A different word.
No, it's not a different word. It's just the spelling of the letter. What is this? This says aleph.
With a lamb down here over negation.
Yeah, but this is just this because this is how you would write it. For instance, you remember back in the days in rap time, we used to say EMCEE. This is the MC. Microphone controller. Right? I'm the EMCEE and I'm balling. Whatever. You understand? It means I'm the MC. But EM is how you would spell the letter M, but we don't ever spell M. We never spell M.
Well,
We never.
no, I understand. That's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to get some clarity, just making sure.
Right.
Like I said, lamb over here, this is just negation, but this just spell another the letter.
Yeah, up here, lam is the spelling of the letter, yes.
No.
So like sometimes, huh?
Go ahead, finish, and I'll ask you when you get through.
No, I was saying sometimes we see, for instance, they might say, for instance, when we say some of the huruf al-jar, right? We say min, wa ila, wa an, wa ala, wa fi, wa rubba, wal ba, wal lam, wal kaf. But what do we mean? We mean ba, lam, and kaf. When they appear, then after them is going to be something majroor, like in billahi, for example, right? Billahi, right? Or lillahi. I'm just trying to think something. Lillahi. But how are we going to spell this lam? This lam is spelled lam. And this ba is spelled out, al-ba. Just in English, we never spell our letters out, ever. Except when we're rapping, right? Go ahead, Amir.
So the lamb of reason to never be behind a negation.
Will it ever be behind a negation?
What? Okay, it'll never be.
I understand the question. I'm trying to think for a second. Will it ever be behind a negation?
What?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. For instance, ma jalastu li astarih. I didn't sit in order to rest. Meaning I didn't sit to rest. I didn't need to rest. I didn't sit in order to rest. Even though I was tired, I didn't sit to rest. It could be. But ma kana ajlisu li astarih. But the meaning is going to be, could it be with ma kana? I don't know. But you have to remember here, lam jahud is always going to be with ma kana. You understand? Always. Now, could it be on a different negation? Could it just be, like I said, ma jalastu li astari? For instance, why did I sit? Right? Ma jalastu li astariha, jalastu li ashruba. I sat in order to drink. But I negated at first the reason for sitting. And it's just going to have to come from the meaning. I'm not able, me and my limited knowledge, I'm not able to say. First off, I can say it can come behind a negation, as I just showed it. Can it come behind ma kana? I don't know. I don't know if it can come behind ma kana too. But the point is the lam is going to make sense to mean the reason for something. Here, this is no reason. Ma kana sadiqu li yakhuna sadiqahu, to deceive his friend. This lam has nothing as a reason for what's in front of it. So we just have to understand the lam. We have to understand the sentence, and that will help us understand the lam. And that's the difficulty, as I said, of teaching Arabic grammar, because a lot of times we're not just teaching this lam, which in the Arab they'll just go over the lam because they understand everything on the page. We have to go through a dictionary and look up this word and this word and this word, and then we got to sit there and think about it, and it's more difficult for us. But inshallah, with time, it's going to get easier. But that was a great question. Barakallahu feek. Some of this stuff we're not going to understand perfectly. We're just going to get a rudimentary understanding, know that something takes place. We might not remember exactly what takes place, but with more and more examples, inshallah, it will become easier. That's not just with these rules here and al-mudmara, but with all Arabic grammar rules or sarf rules or whatever. This one, بعد أو or ينصب المضارع بأن مضمرة وجوبا. بعد أو التي بمعنى إلى أو إلا. This one's even harder in my mind. This one is even harder. It says that the fi'l mudari is made mansoob after an mudmara, which is hidden or implied, wujuban, necessarily, meaning it cannot be written out, it has to be hidden, after aw, which comes with the meaning of ila or illa. Now let's look at some examples so we can see what we're looking at. Istami', listen. It's a command. Listen. Nush al-tabib. Istami' nush al-tabib. Listen to the advice of the doctor. Oh, yatimma shifa'uka. Oh. Now normally we understand the word oh to mean what? Or. Okay, so listen to the advice of the doctor, or yatimma meaning to complete, shifa'uka, or complete your shifa, your curing, your healing, right? You're curing or you're healing. So listen to the doctor or complete your healing. That makes no sense. So oh obviously has a different meaning here. Tahabbab ila ikhwanika. Huh?
In order to.
This one means, it can either mean ila or illa, except. Right? So here it means ila. This here means ila. It doesn't mean or except you will complete your cure. It means ila, meaning to complete your, until you complete, listen to the advice of your doctor until you are cured. Right? Tahabbab ila ikhwanika aw tanala ridahum. Tahabbab meaning to be beloved, do beloved things, ila ikhwanika, to your brothers, or tanala ridahum, right? Or tanala, or like to achieve or obtain, ridahum, their pleasure, right? It doesn't mean or, so it's either going to mean illa or illa. It's going to have the meaning of illa or illa. Here it means illa, this first one, right? Until you achieve their pleasure. Do nice things, be beloved to them, be kind to them, be like this, until you achieve or receive and attain their pleasure. But it doesn't mean or. And so this is the hard part. See, a lot of times we are cornered into believing these words mean one thing, right? This o can mean or it can mean ila, or it can mean illa. And there's books. There's books are written by. Where's harf? Yeah, illa is harf jar. Yes, illa is istithna, exception, right? An exception. And there's books that are written on the meanings of huruf. It says, يُعَاقَبُ الْمُسِيءُ أَوْ يَعْتَذِرَ. يُعَاقَب, meaning he is punished. Al-Musi, the one who does sayyi', the one who does evil, the one who does bad. He is punished. أَوْ يَعْتَذِرَ. Right? أَوْ يَعْتَذِرَ. Or he is excused. He is punished or he is excused. Illa, this word or here has the meaning of illa. Right? Or except he is excused. Not except like illa, like la ilaha illallah, meaning there's none worthy of worship except Allah. It doesn't really mean that. It means or here. Or means illa, meaning he's either punished except if he's excused. He's punished except if he's excused. The one who does evil, he's punished except if he's excused. With the meaning of illa. And yuhramu at-tilmidu al-mukafa'a aw yajtahid. Yuhram, meaning he's prohibited. It is majhul, it's passive. He's prohibited. Al-tilmidu, the student is prohibited. Al-mukafa'a. Al-mukafa'a is the stipend. When a student goes to a university or something, they get a stipend, right? In the Middle East, that's how it normally works. They get some type of stipend. The school is free and they get a stipend, right? He's prohibited from that. He's prevented or made forbidden from that mukafa'a, from that stipend. Oh, yajtahid. Illa, except yajtahid, if he struggles and strives and works hard. If you don't get good grades, they're not going to give you the stipend. You're just here taking up space. We're not paying you to, right? You're going to get kicked out. So the student is prohibited from his mukafa, from his stipend. Oh, yajtahid. Or, not or, except if he strives and works hard. So this huh?
You can say unless.
Right, unless. And this would be illa, meaning istithna, exception. An exception, unless. Or except if he, however you want to translate it. It's all the same. Yu'aqabu al-musi'u aw ya'tadiru aw ya'tadira. Because an is hidden here. So if we read it with the n, let's read all of these with n. Right? Let's read all of these with n. Istami' nus tabib. Right? Listen to the advice of the doctor. O an yatimma shifa'aka. O with the meaning of illa. Until an yatimma. Until that your shifa is complete. Now that makes sense with the n being hidden. Until that your shifa is complete. Right? Tahabbab ila ikhwanika. Right? To love and be beloved to your brothers. أو أن تنال رضاهم. Until that you achieve or obtain their pleasure. يُعَاقَبُ الْمُسِيءُ, the evil one is punished. أو أن يعتذر, unless that he is excused. And I say that with the word an, right? Oh, unless, meaning illa, unless, or except, and ya'tadira, that he is excused. وَيُحْرَمُ التِّلْمِيذُ الْمُكَافَأَةِ, the student is prohibited from the mukafa'a. أو أن يجتهد, except that he, that, and I'm using the word that to translate the word an, except that he is hardworking. If he's hardworking, then he won't be prohibited from it. So, like I said, some of this is difficult on us, but we're just got to become familiar with it. At one time, looking at this was difficult, right? Telling the difference between this, telling the difference between this and this at one time was difficult for us. Ba and noon, dot on the bottom, dot on the top. Come on, man. I can't read that stuff, man. One time, it was difficult for us. And alhamdulillah, Allah made it easy. Now we see a ba and it's a ba. We see a noon, it's a noon. We see a sheen, it's a sheen. We can see a sheen like this. And we say, man, that's a sheen. Some of us, we see sheen like this. We say, man, that's a sheen. No problem. I understand that. I can see that. I can read that. It becomes easy. Same thing with these. With time, bi'idhnillah, it's going to become easy.
But now that there, with the last example you was giving with the n,
Uh-huh.
That's kind of excessive though. You really wouldn't be saying all of that.
No, you're not going to say N because it's obligatory for you not to say it. You have to hide it inside of that O.
Okay.
Right? That's why it says wujuban. But I'm just giving an example in English. When we say that, you would translate it though probably in order to make it make sense. Right? You say the student is prohibited from his stipend unless he works hard, or except that he works hard. You wouldn't say except he works hard. You would say except that he works hard. Now you could say unless and that's fine, right? But you could also say except that he works hard, he's going to be prohibited. Like I said, it was just the purpose of letting you see it. This ba'da hatta with a shad on that ta, right? Hatta yunsab al-mudari bi-an mudmara wujuban ba'da hatta. Same thing. It's obligatory after hatta to hide that n. I'm pulling us up some examples right now. Right? I'd like to finish this section because it's the hardest section, right? لا يمدح الولد حتى ينال رضا والديه. That the student or the boy is not praiseworthy hatta, until, right? ينال رضا والديه, until he achieves the pleasure of his parents. A boy is not praiseworthy. He is not praised until he attains or achieves the pleasure of his parents. سألزم الفراش حتى يتم شفائي. I'm going to stick to the bed. I'm going to remain in the bed. Al-firash, right? حتى, until يتم شفائي, until my sickness or my cure, not my sickness, but my cure is complete. لا تأكل حتى تجوع. Don't eat until you are hungry. Don't eat until you get hungry. ولا تدخل حتى يؤذن لك. And don't enter until the permission is given to you. Until يؤذن حتى يؤذن لك. Don't enter until permission is given to you. Now let's read this bath real quick just to try to make it easy. Okay, it says تعامل أفعال مضارع ينال يتم تجوع ويؤذن. Think about these. Contemplate these four verbs here, right? في الأمثلة السابقة, in the previous examples. تجد كلا منها مسبوقا بكلمة حتى. You'll find that all of them are preceded by the word حتى. وانظر أواخرها تجدها منصوبا من غير أن تكون هناك أدوات النصب الظاهرة. And you will find that all of these verbs ينال يتم تجوع ويؤذن, they are mansub without any of the particles an, len, idhin, or k appearing in front of them. Appearing in front of them. وإذن لابد أن يكون هناك ناصب محذوف بعد حتى. And there's no doubt that there must be one of these particles that's been dropped, right? After حتى. ولا بد أن يكون هذا الناصب هو أن. And no doubt it must be the one N. Because دون غيره من النواصب المضارع لما تقدم في موضوعين السابقين. Just like appeared in the other two, because any of the other ones, K, idhin, and len, they don't make sense. They would not make sense to put any of them after hatta. The sentence would not make sense. So it has to be the one N. ولما كانت أن لا تظهر أبدا قبل المضارع مسبوق بحتى كان إدمارها واجبا. And because it never appears, N never appears after hatta, then it's necessary for it to be hidden. Because you can never say, as we did in the first example with lam ta'lil, you can never say hatta N. right? But
Okay, maybe
go ahead.
maybe I don't see it because I wouldn't put nothing there. You know, you're saying until whatever it's saying. It's not until that.
Well, if you
So
translate
maybe
the,
that's just the way the Arabs speak then.
and that's English too, but let's look at the first one for instance. La yumdah al-walad. The boy is not praised hatta yanala, until he attains rida waliday, the pleasure of his parents.
His parents. Okay, so
Right.
where's that? Until that but that's what I'm saying. We
Right.
wouldn't say that in English. Until that he obtains.
Right, you're right. You wouldn't say it. You wouldn't say it. And this is why, well, perhaps if we just read and just say exactly what they said down here in the Bath in the research, he said, this is mensoob, and this is mensoob, and this is mensoob, and this is mensoob, yet one of these four are not there, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, there has to be something that is in between them. And if we see a verb here, a verb here, a verb here, a verb here, and then a verb, a verb, a verb, a verb, and usually comes between two verbs. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Anyway, there has to be something there, and the only thing that would make sense would be an, because an, lan, idin, and k. Now, you may have, and you got to realize that you may have another, for instance, when you start studying grammar, you're going to see the Kufiyin say this, and the Basriyin say this. The people from Kufa, they say, for instance, another word for majroor is what? Who knows another word for majroor? No, that's just a sign of being, the first one's a sign of marfu'. That's a sign of marfu', not majroor. Another word for majroor. Huh? Khaft. Well, another for majroor, and I'm gonna be particular here, it would be makhfood, just to be on the same pattern. But the word for jar would be khaft. And if you study Ajrumiya, he's gonna talk about khaft. Khaft meaning jar. The people of Basra say this, the people of Kufa say this. It's the same thing, but they use a different word. It's the same concept, they just use a different word. Now, when studying these things, you might find that someone says, no, there are more than four things which make the present tense verb mensoob. They might say hatta is one of them. Do I need an after hatta, or is hatta sufficient to make it mensoob? Somebody might argue this. You understand? Somebody might argue that. No problem. No problem. Here, we're studying one book. Later on, we'll study another book. The same way, when you're little, we ourselves, we fight madhahib. We're Salafi. I ain't following no madhab, man. That's, first off, that's wrong. Right? Bin Baz was Hanbali. Uthaymeen was Hanbali. Ibn Taymiyyah was Hanbali. No problem. There are people who are Hanbali. There are people who are Hanafi. People who are Shafi'i. People who are Maliki. That's not a problem. The problem is when you become a blind following bigot to a madhab. Right? When you're proven wrong. The same thing. We say we don't follow a madhab. But for instance, when you teach your kid to pray, do you teach your kid you can put your hands on your chest or on your side? Or do you teach him one way, and then when he sees something different, then you answer that question to him? You teach him one way. And when he says, but Abby, well, I saw the guy at the masjid do this. Right now, brother, you do this. Look, son, you do this. And later on, when you get a little more knowledge and you got your prayer down, we could talk about this or that. Right now, you restrict him to your madhab. To Abdullah's madhab, Amir's madhab, Abu Sumayya's madhab, Mustafa's madhab. I restrict my son in the beginning to my madhab. Later on, when he sees something at school, at the masjid, then we could talk about it. And I might still tell him, right now, you just do this. Later on, you can look into that. But right now, you worry about doing one. You don't sit and jump around and play around. You don't know what you're doing yet. The same thing here. The same thing here. We have certain rules that we may learn that later on we break the rule. Right? Later on, we break the rule. Right? Just like we learn in math. We learn in math in 2nd grade. You cannot take anything away from 0. And then we get in 4th and 5th grade and they give us 0 minus 2. Oh, how can I take something from 0? You just got to say -2. And they show us a number line. Right? And we say, oh, whatever. We could say -1, 2, and 3. We can take from 0. But they don't teach you that at first. Same thing is going to happen here. We're going to learn something and they may contradict it later on in someone else. Here, this book says, Hatta yunsab al-mudari' mudmara wujuban. Somebody else might say, no, hatta is from those adawat al-nasb, from those tools of nasb, which makes the fi'l mudari' mansub in and of itself. Is that clear?
No.
We just have to remember that. When we talk about something which is non-intellectual and it's plural, how do we talk about it? Something ghayr aql, plural, how do we talk about it?
Feminine singular.
Feminine singular. And then we'll go and we'll see salat men sallahunna, whoever praised them. Oh, what? I thought salat was ghayr aql. How all of a sudden we're talking about hunna instead of sallaha? We might find a hadith which says sallaha, whoever praised them. We find another one that says sallahunna, whoever praised them, and he puts hunna. Why is this? Ain't that wrong? Ain't that hadith wrong? Come on, man. We can't talk like that. No. This Sibawayh, when he made a rule, he didn't make a rule that fit every exception to the rule, and he didn't explain everything. It takes a practice. In general, when we talk about non-intellectual things in plural, we talk about them feminine. But are there exceptions to that? Yes. And what do we say is non-intellectual? Ghayr al-aql. What is aql? What do we say the aql is? Who has the aql? Human beings, jinn, and angels, right? And then sometimes we'll talk about the angels and we'll say ha. We'll say them instead of saying whom. Subhanallah. So sometimes we'll talk about them as if they're non-intellectual, although they are not. So the rules are rules, but there are exceptions and details in those rules. Sometimes we learn the general rule. And normal, if I don't have any money, if you don't have any money, I can't take it from you. Right? So you can't take anything from 0. However, I could be real tough and say, punk, when you get paid, you're going to give me $50. I done took money from you and you don't even have it yet. Right? Which means I can take 2 from 0 and become -2. Right? So there's a rule. The rule is if you don't have it, I can't take it. However, right? I can take it because when you get paid, I'm coming to collect it later on. So I took it from you even before you had it. Just as an example. بعد فاء السببية ينصب المضارع بأن المدمرة مدمرة وجوبا. That same sentence here. The fi'l mudari is made mansub after an, mudmara, hidden or implied, wujuban, obligatory, بعد فاء السببية, after a fa السببية, the fa of a reason, which is kind of like lam ta'lil, masbuqan or masbuqatin or al masbuqati, bi nafi or talab, which is preceded by a nafi, a negation, or a request. Let's go down and let's read it. Let's read a couple examples. And we said this is going to take us time. Maybe when we come back after Ramadan, we'll spend nothing but time on this chapter to hopefully make it stronger. Abu Sumayya, you have your hand raised, or that was a mistake? Oh yeah. Lam yusi fayubghad. Right? Lam yus'al, and these are negations. Lam yus'al fayujib. Right? Isna al-marufa فتنال الشكر. And I'm going to translate him in a second. كن لين الجانب فتحب. طيب. لم يسي. And this is majhul. He was not harmed. He was not done wrong to. He was not done evil to. فيبغض. So that he would be angry. Right? Fa means so that. Right? فيبغض. He was not done wrong so that he would get angry. Right? So that he would get angry. Lam yus'al. He wasn't asked. فيجيب. So that he would answer. If you didn't ask me, I can't answer. Lam yus'al fayujib. He was not asked in order that he would answer. Isna al-maruf. Do good. Fatanala shukra. In order that you achieve or obtain shukr, thanks and gratitude. Right? And kun layin al-janib. Be soft. Al-janib, like on the sides, or but basically just be gentle with people. Fa-tuhab, so that you will be loved. Now, if we just said fa as so, and without the word that in there, without the word that, we wouldn't say he wasn't wronged, so he was angry. He wasn't asked, so he answered. Do good, so that you would do good, so you achieve thanks. Or be soft, so you are loved. We would say, and some of them, and not all of them, and it could be disagreed, he wasn't, at least in the first two, he wasn't wronged so that he would be angry. Like, there's no reason for him to be angry because he wasn't wronged. He wasn't asked so that he answered. Like, there's no reason for him to answer because he wasn't asked. So this here is a negation, these two, and these two here are a talab. Do something, do good, or be this way. These are a request, right? So the request, the talab, or the negation, the nafi. The fa sababiyya. After this fa, we see that the fil mudari is mansoob. Something has to be. Mudmara has to be hidden there, and it is an wujuban. We'll never ever write it, but it's implied. Fa an yughdab. He wasn't wronged so that he would be angry. He wasn't asked so that he would answer. Right? Do good so that you achieve thanks, and be nice. Right? Be kind and gentle. Right? So that you are loved. And we can see the word that easily being translated. Am I correct?
No.
طيب. Even though we're not going to say it. And this is the last one here from this section. I'd like to finish it even though we're going over a little bit. بعد واو المعية. See, this is just wow. Right? Wow. But this is how you spell the word wow, or the letter wow. Right? Wow al-ma'iyya. Al-ma'iyya meaning the wow of with me, like of with. Wa ma'iyya, of with, something with something. Yunsub al-mudari bi an mudmaratan wujuban. Again, it's obligatory that you do it. The only one that's had the option is what? Lam ta'lil. Lam ta'lil, you could write the n out. Right? But the rest of them, you have to hide it. Right? Ba'da waw al-ma'iyya masbuka bi nafi or talab. The same thing. It is preceded by a nafi, by a negation, or a talab. Let me make sure that's it. Yes, that's it. Okay, let's go down. Here's waw al-ma'iyya. Let's read them and try to make sense out of it. Like I said, this could just be a getting familiar day. Right? Lam yaf'ali al-khair. And this kasra is here for reading purposes. Lam yaf'al al-khair wa yandam. Right? Wa yandam. So we're talking about waw al-ma'iyya, meaning the wow of with, something happening at the same time. Lam yaf'al al-khair. He doesn't do good, wa yandam, and have remorse. and have remorse. Right? So this wa is and. He's not going to do good and have remorse. Right? And have remorse. لم يواصل فقير ويمون عليه. I'm not sure the meaning of yuwas. تفهم يواس؟ لم يواس؟ Muawiyah لم يفهم أيضا. Muawiyah doesn't know either. Give me a second. Let's look at the next two. لا تأمر بصدق وتكذب. Do not command with truthfulness and lie. Don't tell others to be truthful and you lie. لا تنظر إلى عيوب الناس وتهمل عيوب نفسك. Do not look at the faults of the people and forget or become negligent or overlook the faults of yourself. Right? So, first off, all of these first two are negation. لم يفعل, لم يواس. These are negation, nafi. لا تأمر ولا تنظر. These are talabs. Even though they're commands. Okay. طيب إن شاء الله. دقيقة. نعم. So, he's trying to show me the word. So these two here are talab. Don't do something or do something. Don't do something. This is a request. Don't. This is a request. Don't tell people to tell the truth and you're lying. So this means this wow al-ma'iyya means at the same time. This wow at the same time. A person is not going to do good and at the same time have remorse about that. A person is not going to yeah, here we go. Yuwas would be to console or to help the poor person. Right? Lem yuwas al-faqira. Right? He's not going to help the poor person. And then yamunna alay, meaning yamunna means to recall that favor. So you're not going to help that poor person and then say or console him and say, oh, it's okay. And then, but you know I did this for you. You know I bought you this. Every day I walk by, I give you a quarter. Huh?
Time.
Okay. No. Sorry.